All right, YouTube Repo Man 64. Man, this flu has been something else. Epic. I had to work through the whole thing. It was just terrible. This is the first day I've had off since my last video. So here I am. The rapture is going to happen. It is going to happen before any of the seals are opened. It is going to happen before the Antichrist is revealed. The Antichrist will come on the scene after the rapture. John, when he appears in heaven, he sees the seven candlestick menorah. We saw the Schumann residence, where for some bizarre reason the menorah appeared. Ikra Symphony is an engineer, and she went through and looked at it and also commented on how unique that event was. Is God just plainly pointing us to the menorah, to Hanukkah? Is he fulfilling Amos 3:7 in that fashion by just having us look at Hanukkah? Now, I've had many high watch days, mathematically symmetrical, that look like would be a perfect rapture day. I'm going to be sorry about this. I'm still sick. I'm getting over it. The doctor prescribed something Tammy flu or something. It is working. It's clearing my head, but it's making me cough. So apologize for that in advance. I've seen some comments in the comment section of diehard Rapture watchers just saying, why can't we figure this out? And it's by design. Satan cannot know. So, therefore, all these dates that have come up have been stepping stones on the way to the actual date. And this date of Hanukkah does hold mathematical symmetry, but no more, no less than any other date that I've found previous to this. But Satan, as well as us, knows we're running out of numbers, we're running out of time. There's certain things that have to happen all the way up to the midpoint of the tribulation, and then from the midpoint of the tribulation to the millennium. And there's a specific amount of day counts in there between the both. The first one is the two witnesses, and they will witness for the first 1,260 days. And then Satan will go in and proclaim himself to be God. And then for 42 months, the woman will flee into the wilderness and be protected by God. So we can't get away from these numbers. And watching Dave the Watchman's last video, I was like, I think he said 25, 92, I don't, 95, something. He gave a number. And when he did, I noticed that it landed exactly 1 month, 1 year, and 1 day prior to yesterday. Yesterday was a high watch day. Was it yesterday? Yeah, see, I don't even know what day it is. The first, it was the day. And the high watch day sets us up for a 70-day period between when Solomon decided. Leviticus gives clear exact days, but Solomon being the wisest, maybe Solomon figured it out. But of course, he's not allowed to tell us because then Satan would know. But what if that's why Solomon gave the extra 7 days? There were 7 days between the dedication of the altar in the time of Solomon and the actual Feast of Tabernacles. And the Bible records in several places that Solomon did this. What if it's a pointer to 70 days after Tabernacles? If it's 70 days after Tabernacles, it would fall in line with the 7 days that Abraham negotiated for the salvation of Sodom and Gomorrah, he whittled it down to 10, I think. And it turns out there were only four. It was Lot, his wife, and the two girls, and his wife turned back. So she was still in love with the world. She is that fish two fish, one looking to heaven, one looking to heaven and earth. She is that fish that's looking to heaven and earth, and she stayed behind. She's the salt of the world. She's the salt of the earth. So, but we see this also in Noah. He sits in the ark for 7 days. There's a lot of 7 days prior that takes place, and so symmetrically, I noticed that from Tabernacles to Hanukkah, it's 70 days. We see in John 7, it says very clearly it is Tabernacles when Jesus goes down into the midst of the feast. It's absolutely Tabernacles, but then it becomes obscure when we get to John 10, where it says, and it was winter. So we think, this must be Hanukkah. And if it's in the Bible, it's important. But then it falls 70 days later. Now, you won't get 70 if you're using the sliver moon. Obviously, it'll be off by a day because the sliver moon just won't work. It turns out, and this is where Trevor Woods comes in, and Brett from God's Land Down Under rechecked and supported Trevor Woods' work in that the moon was knocked out by 10 days a year. It goes around, returns to its same position every 354 days. The Earth returns to its same position every 364 days in relationship to a distant star. I'm aware that there's 365 and a quarter days, but that's because the Earth is called a sidereal day, and the Earth has to continue to tick forward 4 minutes each day. So it appears to us that there is a 24-hour day when there is actually a 23-hour and 56-minute day. It's a whole thing. You'd have to really get in and study that to understand it. But to a distant star, the Earth spins 364 times, which means the moon falls short 10 days every single year. So the moon falls short 10 days every single year. And this happened at the time of the flood because Enoch appears to contradict himself. Initially, he says the moon was set for exact times, and you could set your watch by it. If there was no moon, it was the first. If there was a quarter moon, it was the seventh. If there was a full moon, it was the 15th. It was perfect. It was in line. But then during the flood, something happened. The moon went and began to speed up. So the moon, from our perspective, would fall short 10 days every month. And I've been scratching my head. Trust me, you've heard me say video after video, the moon has nothing to do with the head of the month. It has nothing to do with the 15th. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is there for signs, though. So Trevor Woods finds this absolutely incredible thing. I built a timeline based on it's a static timeline based on whenever the event took place. That's the anniversary of it. It will always be that date. It never changes. Just like your birthday doesn't jump around every year with the moon. No, your birthday's on a day. And that day you can set your watch by it. The Gregorian calendar is a static timeline. The Julian calendar is a static timeline, only they miscalculated. So the Gregorian is a fix for the Julian. The Gregorian is the Julian calendar of Jesus' time. It matches perfectly. Now, what does the moon do then? And I have been baffled by this for ages, forever, trying to figure out why Enoch says the moon is a faithful witness and you can set your watch by it. But then he says, I fear that they're going to use the moon and bring in their feast days 10 days too soon each year. And they're going to try to fix it by doing this bizarre, absolutely unbiblical calculations, adding a 13th month and calculating all these bizarre things and just making the statement, well, it's the 1st and the 15th. That's it. And I'm like, where did the 10 days go each year? The sun comes up, you got to give it a name of that day. The sun comes up the next day. It's got to have a name of the day. You can't just ignore 10 days. We can ignore the difference between a stellar day and a solar day and explain it because that's why God implemented or spoke of Joshua's long day. That gives us the extra day. That explains the difference between stellar and solar. It's perfectly clear. And there was another one where he moved the thing 10 degrees and it was 20 minutes or 40 minutes. I don't recall exactly, but between the combination of the two, it makes up for exactly what we need to see to explain the difference between a stellar day and a solar day. It was brilliant. It was right there. And we all saw it. We just didn't put it together. So Trevor Woods comes out and says, I just decided to go back and check all of the static dates. I'm one of the few, and it's not a prideful thing. I just, my brain works like that. Things have to make sense. They have to equalize. They can't just randomly jump from here to there. That I was born on this day, and this is the day that I will always celebrate that I was born. Christmas Day will always be on Christmas Day. New Year's Day will always be on New Year's Day. It doesn't move around. Well, we got to wait for the moon before it's New Year's Day. I can't even fathom that. So Trevor finds this fact on the timeline. I put a bunch of dates of when things happen. Joshua crosses over the promised land. Israel becomes a nation. Just a whole bunch of different dates that I've had on the timeline for quite some time. So Trevor Woods decides, well, let me go in to see where the moon is during these events that are on a static timeline. And it turns out all of those events so far that he has found, and I think he gave an equation. He said, and this isn't my 48, this is his. I think he said something to the 30,000 to 1 or 300,000 to 1. I don't recall exactly. You'd have to go watch his video. But he said the odds on this happening are next to nothing. So what does he do? He discovers the purpose of the moon. The moon is in Cancer when all of these events take place. And I thought, dang, now we understand. If God had not sped the moon up, and basically, because he did that, could not be used to determine the head of the month or the head of the year, since it can't be used for that. What's it used for? And it turns out the only way it could be used for what it has been used for is to slow it down. I'm sorry, speed it up by 10 days. In other words, speed the moon up and it will appear 354. It's 10 days faster than the 364-day year. So Trevor Woods goes in and does this whole thing. I was floored. You really got to go watch his videos and look at it for yourself. If God had not done that, we would not, I really want to say, figure out when the rapture day was. We would not have been able to figure it out. But isn't it ironic? I mean, how is it even possible that the moon just goes 354 and then it appears in Cancer? I believe I have it on here. I believe it was December the 8th. December the 8th on a static timeline is the first day of Hanukkah. And trust me, when I did the math from the head of the year and I worked all the way down, I said, oh, Jesus was conceived on Christmas. That's cool. Oh, the flood happened on Halloween. That's cool. It lands perfectly. All these events, Jesus went to the cross. April Fool's Day, head of the year. It's St. Patrick's Day. How did the Gregorian calendar line? God had his hand in it. That's why. And then here comes Hanukkah, December the 8th. And I'm like, what? Lord, it's like 18 days early. What is this? Is that 18? Yeah, it's about 18 days, 19 days early on the 8th, or 15. Is it 17? Anyway, it's the 25th, December the 25th. Why doesn't it land there? It's the one of the few Jewish feasts that land based on this moon. It is based on the moon. And that was what the understanding of it was supposed to be for the last 2,000 years. That's what it was supposed to be doing. And if you look back, you can see, based on the current calculation of the moon, when all those things happen. So I'm going to go into the pictures and show you all the pictures. And just keep in mind, I see a few people in the comments section, diehard Rapture watchers, that are saying, why can't we figure this out? We can't, because Satan can't know. You understand that, right? Satan can't know The rapture is out of imminent danger. Satan is coming after us. He's going to go after your very soul. He's going to attempt to drag you to hell. And God can't have that. So he can't know. So if we know exactly when that day is, the day and the hour of that day, put ourselves in jeopardy, and God knows that, but he does not want us to stop watching. He does not want us to stop setting high watch days. He does not want us to stop doing these mathematical equations, because while for us we build on it, we build on it, we build on it, and we compare scripture with scripture, and iron sharpens iron, and all these people working together from Equal Symphony to Spinebreaker. Actually, Spinebreaker is calling tonight at midnight for Eastern Standard Time. He's calling it at 7 a.m. Israel time on the 4th. Is that the 4th? Yeah. That's for me right now, that's exactly 12 hours away. So I hope Spinebreaker's right. He's using Solarium and he's looking at that. So we're all working together. Nobody's going, oh, you're wrong, I'm right. Nobody's doing that. We're all kind of building on each other. Equal Symphony and Trevor Woods and God Sent Down Under and David the Watchman's got some serious study going on in the order of Melchizedek. Really, really interesting stuff. And so all of us are working together. Nobody's in competition with anybody. Nobody's pointing a finger saying you were wrong because of blah, blah, blah. And we're not doing that stuff. We're actually working together. We're trying to figure this out. And like I said, this is all a confusion for Satan. Satan is absolutely confused by all this stuff. He does not know the date of the rapture. He doesn't know. Sorry. The rapture was written down before the foundations of the world. The rapture was determined prior to Satan's creation. Satan was created on the first day of creation. He was created on September the 11th. Prior to that, it was Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They devised a plan. They said to themselves, we want a group of people that absolutely love us. But how do we get to that? Do we just create them to love us? No, that's not real love. Real love is somebody who goes through the fire with you and hangs on to you no matter what. Right or wrong, they're beside you the whole way. They're not giving up on you, and they're going to be with you to the end. That's what real love is, and that's us. We are going through it. I've been sick for 2 weeks, and everything around me is hard. It's very difficult. And so that's just my little weak story of persecution. But there's some Christians out there really being persecuted. They're dying for the word of God. They're going through it. There's people who are hungry and hurt and broke, and there's just so much terrible stuff going on. But we still love him. We still love him. And that's what he was looking for. He's not looking for somebody to give up and say, well, I guess, I'm just going to get back to the world since God failed me. He's not looking for that. He is testing you. This is a time of testing. Hang in there. The rapture is going to happen. Exactly when? Satan can't know. God would love to tell us, trust me. But if we knew, all bets would be off. Satan being created after that date was determined, Father, Son, Holy Spirit did not live in heaven. Heaven had not been created yet. The angels had not been created yet. The angels haven't been around for billions of years. The angels were created on the first day of creation. It took Satan 6 days to fall from grace because he saw man created in the image of God, and he became jealous. He knew what that meant. Satan and the angels have no concept of salvation. They don't understand it. They don't understand. They love God because they were created. They worship God because they were created to do so. And it's a love. It is a love. Don't get me wrong. And God loves them. But they didn't go through it like we did. Without seeing, we believed. We're sitting here talking about dates that just keep passing, and yet we still keep searching. And why do we keep doing that? Because we love him and we can't wait for him to appear and take us out of here. That's why we do it. We don't stop because a date failed. We don't stop because one of us goofy YouTube guys called out a date that passed. That's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with God. God is testing you to see, will you, when he returns, this is what Kevin said in a comment. I was talking to him. He said, when I return, will I find faith? He is putting us through it. And he just wants to know, are you going to hang on? Or are you just going to fall asleep? Like the 10, we call them virgins, but they're actually bridesmaids. The actual translation is 10 bridesmaids. None of them are the wife. It's bridesmaids. When Jesus showed up, he's called the bridegroom. He's called the bridegroom because he already has his bride. We're already in heaven when this parable of the 10 virgins, 10 bridesmaids take place. And so what we see is all 10 of them fell asleep. They're not the bride. We don't fall asleep. 5 of them have oil. As soon as they saw the rapture, they dropped to their knees and said, Lord, I have seen, just like Thomas in the upper room, I have seen and I believe, and I missed the rapture, but please don't forget me. Bring me to heaven. And then they are taken. And again, I think it's a very short period of time after the rapture. I don't think it's very long at all. And those 5 are taken with oil, and the 5 left behind could either be, and it might be both, the world and the Jew. The world is not looking for Jesus. They're looking for that alien spaceship to come here and prove finally to the Christians that there is no God and that the aliens planet is here. And they just left us with this book to keep us in line so we didn't kill each other until they returned. That's the story that's going to be presented to the world. And the world is going to buy into it hook, line, and sinker because they've never read the Bible. It's a fallacy to them. It's a story that can be manipulated through time, and they don't understand what it took to get the Bible in its current form, with all the authors and all the hundreds of years to bring it to where it's at right now, and to have it be cohesive the way it is. And they just can't comprehend that. But some will during the second half of the tribulation. Some will refuse that mark. So let me get into the pictures here. Oh man, sinuses. Let me move my picture up out of the way. All right, here we are. Just notate this. This is an oddity for the Hebrew calendar, and this is not the rapture date. We're going before what we call 2026. Excuse me. We're going to go here in 2025. Mathematically, everything points to 2025. And the reason it does is because 99.9% of this planet has no idea we're in 2024. So God is not going to speak to the world in terms of 2024. He's going to speak to them in terms of 2025. But for those of us who have paid attention and done our 49-year count back to creation in beginning of 4004 and the first full year 4003, realize that this is 2024, and that Psalms 124:7 is still in effect. It's still going on. And we're still watching, but an oddity happens. Sivan 6 is the day Enoch was born and rose. They're saying May 22nd. For some reason, it mirrors mine. Mine says May 21st. Theirs says May 22nd. So I found it odd. I just checked it. I'm like, I wonder how they did that. Now, I've never, in all this time, found a path. I tried to add 3 months because 365 and a quarter. I've tried to figure out Enoch and why he's named Enoch, and he has something to do with Hanukkah and all this different stuff, but I could never get Sivan 6, even 6 months out. It just doesn't match. Nothing matches with Enoch and Hanukkah. Nothing, until I realized that the first day of Hanukkah, December the 8th, if you go forward 1,260 days, that's the day Enoch ascended. Now, for the first time since I have been working on this calendar, could I find a relationship between Enoch and Hanukkah? I thought that was pretty impressive to look. I'm going to go backwards through the pictures because I have so many of them. These are the stones that I have collected to stone Spinebreaker if the rapture does not occur at 7 a.m. Israel time tonight. Spinebreaker is well aware that he is going to be stoned if he's wrong. I'm joking. Spinebreaker gave he went into Solarium and he looked, he said, this absolutely matches. This is what I think it is. And guess what? I'm going to be doing tonight at midnight. I'm going to be praying that he's right. Absolutely praying that Spinebreaker's correct. So nobody will be getting stoned if he's not. He's given it his best guesstimate. All right. Now, just to show you, Tabernacles is the day Jesus was born. He came to tabernacle with us. Once again, on a static timeline, it doesn't change. Tabernacles is always September the 30th. It never moves. 5 days prior to this, Jesus began his ministry when he was about 30 years old. He did that in 26 and a half, because it was in September. He started his ministry in 26 and a half on September the 25th in 26 AD. Jesus went to the cross when he was 33 and a half in 30 AD on March 30th on a static timeline. And Trevor Woods went through all of these and finds these major events all land. And again, I'll give you his YouTube here in a moment. You got to go watch it. They all land in Cancer. That's why the moon was knocked out by 10 days. If God hadn't, the moon would simply tick around just like the earth, and it wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't give us any signs. He moved it 10 days so that we would have this sign. And when did we discover it? Well, I didn't. Trevor did. When did he discover it? He discovered it last week, right here, right where we think the end is. I personally think the end is on December the 8th or December the 7th at sunset, unless I'm off by a day, which is possible because I noticed that the Dead Sea Scrolls call the Feast of New Wine on, I think it was Sivan 3, and I have it on Sivan 2. For some reason, we're off by a day. The only thing I could take into account for that is the Gregorian calendar gets knocked out by a day over the course of about 4,000 years. And that would explain the day difference between the Essenes calendar and my timeline. The Essenes use a static timeline. They did not use the moon. They knew about the moon problem. And when they put it in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they called Feast of New Wine on Sivan 3, being off by 1 day from me. Now, when Noah again goes into the ark, he waits 7 days. We always see this 7 days. Everybody says Lot was rescued at the last moment. Yeah, but Lot is the how do you say? Lot's the bride because he's being pulled out right before destruction. That's true. But Abraham knew about it a week in advance and partitioned for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, and I think he whittled it down to 10, like I said. And each day was a new negotiation. It started out at 50, then it went to 45. I don't recall the numbers, but you'll see 6 different ones. Then the angels go to Lot on the 7th day. Then that night, becoming the 8th day, they pull him out. Same thing here. From Tabernacles to the first day of Hanukkah, 70 days. Is that the 7 days that we're waiting? 70 days, synonymous. It's the same day, same number. We've been waiting since Tabernacles to go. When did this guy Joshua call his date? September the 23rd and 24th. He said that was trumpets. It was actually the Day of Atonement. But could he have, look, when you have these visions and these dreams, nothing's as clear as it can be. All you're doing is repeating what your understanding of what you saw. December the 8th, Hanukkah is Kislev 24. It's the 9th month and 24th day. It's the 9th month and 23rd day here in the United States. Some parts of the world, it'll be 9/24. Some parts of the world will be 9/23. Is that what he misunderstood? And what happens? It's not trumpets, but what if it's the blowing of trumpets? I'm not trying to, like I said before, I didn't get upset when his date passed because I knew it wasn't trumpets. I knew it was atonement. I didn't invest that much energy into Joshua, but I don't discount him. And the reason I don't is because it drove so many, the churches reported so many people went to church. So many people went up for that altar call. It was beautiful. And Satan would deny the whole thing. Oh, this guy's a false prophet. He's a false prophet. Don't believe in what he said. Look, the date passed. Be careful with that stuff. You have to be careful. It probably, in my opinion, was sent by God. But he counts every man a liar, and God be true. So now everybody's looking at Joshua like he's a liar, and he's not, because the date he called was the date that Jesus began his ministry. And 5 days later, Jesus turns 30 years old. Just like the Bible said, he was about 30 years old. So 70 days lands us here on December the 8th, Hanukkah. Something, I guess, see, this isn't my strong point, my 48. This is Mark Allison 88. Is that right? Yeah, Mark Allison 88. And something big is turning towards Earth. And Stefan Burns is also reporting this as something big. And look, like I said before, if we're coming up on the rapture, things are going to start happening. Big things are going to start happening. First of all, Satan is going to begin to try to cover it up with his false narrative, with his three-eye atlas, with wars all over the world. He's got to cover it up because he knows he's lost us already. He can't get us back. We're signed, sealed, and delivered. We're done. But he doesn't, and he's still going to try to get us. And he would if he knew the date, but he doesn't. All he's seen is a bunch of us out here trying to figure out the date. And he's like, oh, he's probably the one making the comments in the comment section going, you missed it again. You're never going to figure it out because no man knows the day or the hour. And he tries to stop us because one of these times, one of us is going to be correct. So here we are. We see all these events climbing up, but I told you the earthquakes are just going to go volatile. The sunspots are going to go volatile. Everything, Damascus, earthquakes, tsunamis, it is going to uptick. If you read extra biblical books, if you were entrenched or ingrained deeply in the Bible and understood the Bible is a book of salvation, if you understood that, you can venture out into extra biblical books because now you're going to be strong enough to be able to discern what you're reading. And so if you are a baby Christian, I would never, ever suggest you go read those books. Those books have nothing to do with salvation. Those books do not belong in the Bible. But those books, just like David the Watchman is working through the order of Melchizedek, and he's found some very interesting things. He's able to go into that stuff. And remember, and I'll tell you this because David the Watchman has said it live, he was an atheist. He did not believe in any of this stuff. And Jesus snatched him up, put his Holy Spirit inside of him on the day he said, Lord, I don't know who you are. I barely believe in you, but if you're real, show me something. And boy, did he ever. David the Watchman has a love for Christ right now that is amazing for a guy where he came from and what he went through. So keep in mind that he's strong enough to go into that stuff in this period of time as he's been a Christian, but some are not. So I would stay out of it. But in these books, and there's many of them, there's Enoch, there's the Book of Luminaries, there's the Legend of the Jews, there's the Book of Jubilees, there's so many of them, and they all mirror the same event from a different perspective. And one of those perspectives, or a couple of them actually reports this, that when Noah got on the ark, the sky began thundering and the earth began quaking and all these things started happening. You think that drove any unbeliever to the ark to say, okay, I believe. I'm sorry. Not a one, not a one. They saw all these things. They're seeing 3i Atlas. They're seeing the sun come around. Do you think it's driving any one of them to their knees? No, they're not interested. They have no interest because they have no basis of faith whatsoever. Your job since you've been here was to plant a seed. It wasn't to change anybody. It wasn't to convince anybody of anything. It was to, you could make the simplest of statements and say, I heard on the internet, they're saying Jesus is coming back soon. Okay. I'm just saying one day a bunch of people are going to disappear and then all hell is going to break loose. Okay. But that's the seed that you planted. And when it happens, they're going to be like, oh man, that crazy person at the grocery store just told me about this event. These aren't aliens. They're Nephilim or they're fallen angels coming back here to earth. I think that since their fall, they've been stuck in the realm of time. I think they've been stuck in the realm of gravity and all of the laws that govern this planet that don't govern in heaven. I don't think they can walk through walls. I think they're stuck in this realm. Those who are not tied in hell right now, those who are free to roam around and maybe invade people who are, by the way, you cannot be possessed by Satan if you're a Christian. It can't happen. The Holy Spirit resides inside of you. That house is full. There's no room for anyone else. And he's not moving out. So if you cast out a spirit, let's say, that's not my thing. I don't know how to do that. I would imagine it would just be in the name of Jesus, leave, and they would have to leave. That, in my opinion, it should be that simple because you don't have any power. Even your faith of a mustard seed would be strong enough to move that evil spirit out of there. But if you did that and you didn't follow through and introduce Jesus and ask them, would you like Jesus to come into your heart and save you and drink from this cup? You left that house empty, and more demons are going to move in than were there previously. So make sure you follow through if that's your thing to do. All right. God's Land Down Under. He did a good video here reiterating what Trevor Woods had found. And they're looking at this, and it's earth-shaking. Really, this piece of information now explains why the moon is so important. When we read, and there are signs, the moon, the sun, the moon, the stars are for signs, for seasons, and for, I forget exactly the words, days. But people take all three of them and apply all three of them to all three of them. And that's not the way it works. The moon is for signs. That's it. It's not for days. It's not for seasons. It's for signs. That's what the moon is for. And Trevor Woods found it. And again, God's Land, what I like about God's Land Down Under and Spinebreaker is they don't just accept it. I do, because I don't know anything about stellarium. But they go in and verify it. And both of them had verified that, in fact, the moon lands here on this day of December the 8th. So, again, I had a little conversation with someone, not going to name them. They know who they are. I asked a simple question. Do you think the 5 virgins with oil is the bride? The answer was yes. I said, well, I'm not here to debate you or change your mind, but please consider that the 10 virgins are actually 10 bridesmaids, and that when Jesus showed up, he was called the bridegroom and could not be called that unless he was with his bride. The kingdom of heaven shall be like 10 bridesmaids. This is a different translation. I forget. Is that New Linear Translation? I only use the King James. But if you get stuck on a word like virgins and go into other translations, you might gain some insight. They're actually bridesmaids. None of them are virgins. None of them are the bride, who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. He's called the bridegroom because he's already got his bride. He's coming back now to get the tribulation saints. The tribulation saints have believed after they saw the rapture happen. Okay? 5 were foolish, 5 were wise. The wise ones accepted Christ during this period of time. They didn't buy into the garbage that these are aliens and they're the ones that put us here. And they've gotten rid of all the crazy people. All that garbage is coming out that Satan is going to put out there. They did not believe it, and they knelt down and accepted Christ once they saw the rapture occur. Here in the King James, which is the one I use, King James Version, heaven should be like unto 10 virgins. This is synonymous with bridesmaids, and again, Jesus called a bridegroom because he already has his bride. So no big deal, just a little discussion. On December the 8th at 5:51 p.m., or I don't recall it. Trevor Woods did a video saying it stayed in this box, came into the box and left the box over a period of time. I don't recall how long that period of time was. So it's near Jupiter, which is Jesus by his stripes and the hole that he had in his side. And then it comes into Cancer, which is representative of heaven. And on December the 7th, it is right here in Gemini and Jupiter together. The very next day, it'll be over here in Cancer, in heaven. So it looks like we meet up with Jesus on the 7th, and then on the 8th, we will be in heaven, is what it appears. Now, I did some more dates on this. The moon, and this is what, how do you call, Godson Down Under noticed, and we were looking at this very intently because it is 7 days before Hanukkah, that this might possibly match with Solomon's 7 days prior to Tabernacles. And so far, we have seen a few things like the sun producing this huge solar event that's turning around to Earth, facing right now as we speak. And so that happened around that time. We have here November the 29th. I'm going backwards, remember, so everything's going to be backwards. This is Trevor Woods' YouTube. He's the one that did this. Trevor Woods, 3367. I would subscribe to him all day long. And he goes in and looks up these events, these major events that happened on a static timeline that didn't move, that are exact days that happened. And when he did, he must have dropped his remote. I don't know, his mouse when he was doing it, because he's like, this is impossible. This keeps landing in Cancer. This event landed in Cancer. That event landed in Cancer. And like I said, please go watch that because it was absolutely incredible what Trevor Woods found. So, what is this? From second Passover, which is April 30th. Remember, March 30th is Passover. Second Passover would be April 30th. 30 days later, if you add 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days, you will land on Hanukkah. We were thinking that something would happen on second Passover. It turns out that these were all stepping stones saying, look at this date. It's important. You're going to need it in the future. And here we are. We see that the second Passover makes it to December the 7th at sunset. Using this entire day, become December the 8th, would be Hanukkah. The book of Haggai. Now, it's been a couple of years since I studied this. There was a reason a couple of years ago that I did study this. It makes mention of a date. This date appears in Haggai 2:10, 2:15, 2:18, and 2:20. But if I remember, there was mention, not a date mentioned, but a period of time mentioned 3 other times, for a total of 7 times the date being alluded to or mentioned in the book of Haggai. I will have to go back in and restudy it, but if I recall correctly, there were 7 in all. 8:24. sorry, 9/24, Kislev 20. Have I been saying 8? 9/24 is Kislev 24. It is Hanukkah. It's mentioned that many times. Now, I looked at this 2 years ago because it's mentioned so many times and it's Hanukkah. But the day something passes, I don't stretch it out, looking at the sliver moon, then looking at the full moon, then looking at the Gregorian and Julian and every other calendar. I just say, well, the date passed. Because to me, the dates are static. They don't move. They don't budge. But that's not to say that God might possibly use the Hebrew date if it relates to our date somehow. In other words, right here, let me go a little bit bigger. Right here, remember, Solomon dedicated the temple to the altar 7 days prior to tabernacles. And he did that. Oh, excuse me. This medicine's got me messed up. He did that on, what would it have been? Okay. It would have been September the 22nd. September the 22nd going into September the 20th. Actually, I have it at sunset. So this is Solomon's 14 day because it was 7 days. So yeah, it would have been here. I pointed the arrow over here. So on this September the 23rd, 24th would have been the day that Solomon dedicated to the altar. And then 7 days later, they celebrated for 7 days, of 14 days total. And on the 8th day, he sent them away and they were happy. They went away to their tents. That would have been Tishri 22, October the 7th, the date Israel was attacked, the day Jesus was named and circumcised. It fits perfectly. This is the day out of time. I had to figure out where to put it, and I realized that the Revelation 12 sign was pointing to this, and so was the dedication to the altar from Solomon. That's why this is the distance between a stellar day and a solar day. It has to land here. Could never figure out before to put it, and then I realized this is where it belongs. So, what did we hear about September the 23rd and 24th? It's trumpets. It's the day of the Revelation 12 sign. It's atonement. This is Yom Kippur, atonement, right here. And I've got it on the wrong line. If you count 15 through 24, you will wind up with the 10 days of awe. I have to cross that off and put Kippur over here, Yom Kippur over here. I think I spelled, is that right? Yom Kippur? Anyway, so from this date, then we get down here to Tabernacles, which is the day Jesus was born, September 30th. And then you go forward 70 days and you match all those events up. Solomon dedication to the altar, Tabernacles matches Hanukkah 70 days out. The last day of Hanukkah matches when Jesus was named and circumcised. It's Shemini Atzeret. It's the great 8th day. However, the 15th is the first day of Hanukkah for the Jews. And the last day of Hanukkah for the Jews is December the 22nd, which just happens to land after the solstice. For me, winter begins, and again, this is just a count, and I can explain this. It might take too long, but I can explain why winter actually begins on December the 16th. It's like you throw a ball from one hand to the other. Each of them are in the 23-degree mark. But when you toss the ball, it goes up a little bit and then it lands in the hand. And where they're counting from is the center, from the highest point. But that's not where it began. It began when I tossed the ball. This is December 16th. This is December the 30th, 2 weeks later. And in the center is December the 21st. 21st being the shortest day of the year. But that's not where it started. It actually started here in the 23-degree mark on December the 16th. And you can go look at the what is it called? The something of the sun. The tracking of the sun. I'll think of it in a moment. It's the It's how the sun travels in a figure eight. But you can go in there online and look it up, and you'll see that on December the 16th, it actually goes into the 23-degree mark. That's where the ball is tossed, and then it's caught on December the 30th. And right in the center is December the 21st, where the right here, where they're calling the last day of Hanukkah, December the 21st, sunset. So anyway, are we going to see a rapture on December the 8th? Kislev 24, the 9th month and 23rd and 24th day. You see, was that what Joshua might have been pointed to? I don't know. But on a static calendar, Hanukkah will always be on December the 8th. And the last day of Hanukkah will always be on December the 15th. The sliver moon people, it'll be all over the place. The full moon people, forget about it. Their calendar never made sense. It can't make sense. I understand why the Jews are doing what they're doing. They're doing it wrong. They missed Jesus's last time he came. Guess what? They're going to miss it again because they're using the wrong calendar, which is why I think that something huge will happen here on December the 8th. Don't know what. And right in the center of it, this is, again, December the 8th is when the only way I can tie Enoch to his ascension day on Sivan 6, 1,260 days later, and then 1,260 days later from when the flood stops, which is the middle of Hanukkah, I can tie it to the day Jesus ascended, 1,260 days later. And then the last day of Hanukkah, 1,260 days later, ties to the first Pentecost. All three of these tie to those three items, which are up here. The first item is Enoch is born and ascends on Sivan 6, May 22nd. Remember that first picture I showed you showing May 22nd. So Enoch is born and ascends on Sivan 6, May 21st. That matches Hanukkah. That's Hanukkah. And then Jesus ascends on May 25th. This matches the midst of the feast. Jesus went up in the midst of the feast. This matches Ascension Day on Sivan 10, May 25th. Really quickly, how do I count that out? How do I know that's the date 100%? It's very simple. 3773. Jesus walked with them 3 times. In these 14 days, he walked with them. He in each one of these 7 days and 7 days, from when he sees Thomas in the upper room after he rises, goes to Thomas in the upper room 7 days later, and he goes to on the shore with bread and fish 7 days later. And then he walks with them for 3 days out of those 14 days. It says these 3 times, as the Bible says it, is clear, but nobody knew how to put it together. 3773. And then he walks with them for 37 days, because there's 3 days located in these 14. Then he walks with them for 37. And it just so happens to land on a Wednesday. Jesus went to the cross on a Wednesday. It was not a Thursday, because it had to be Nisan 14. There is no universe where Jesus went to the cross on a 13, which on a Thursday, it being Nisan 14, and you coming down here and starting creation on September the 11th, and on a Thursday, September the 15th, being the Feast of Trumpets. It's this timeline interconnects and doesn't budge. So Pentecost that fully came is this one, May 29th. This matches the last day of Hanukkah. Sivan 14 matches perfectly to the last day of Hanukkah by 1,260 days. And then on top of that, Trevor Woods finds, finally, I knew somebody was going to find it. I couldn't find it. I didn't know. I knew the moon meant something. I said, well, the moon's off by 10 days. And if you count those 10 days over the course of the period of time from when it went awry, which it did at the flood, hey, look, we're at 120 years. The moon is off by 120 years right now. And I said, that means something. How does it land exactly 120 years? Man's given 120 years. Well, guess what? The moon is off by 120 years right now. By next year, it'll be off by 130 years because it's off 10 days per year. So the rapture has to happen now in 2025. It has to happen now. All right, let me see what else I have. Jesus leaves the 99 and to go get the one. December the 8th, Hanukkah, it's 2025. It's actually 2024, but 2025. And 99 days later is Rosh Hashanah. It's the beginning of the Jubilee. The Jubilee does begin in 2025. I was wrong all year because I was counting the 49th year as the Jubilee. I made a mistake. Then we realized it's actually 2024. So my mistake was off by 1 year. The Jubilee does begin in 2025. I trusted 2 years ago, I trusted other people's count of the Jubilee and said, this is the Jubilee year. I didn't know. And then I got tired of everybody saying, it's a Jubilee, it's a Jubilee. And I went in and counted it myself. And it turns out every 49th year, back to creation, 2024 is the 49th year, and 2025 is the Jubilee. 2025 is coming up here on March 17th of what we call 2026. We're at the edge of it. And 99 days from that, leaves the 99, goes after the one. That means just in that passage in the Bible alone is December the 8th, 99 days. All right. I showed you this before. We're getting into stuff I showed you before. MBS meets with Trump on the 17th, and we see a 21-day tarry leading us to Hanukkah on December the 8th. All kinds of math begins to match when you use December the 8th. All kinds of math. Last day, Hanukkah, is December the 16th. Adam is removed from the garden on December the 16th. He's taken out of the garden. December the 16th is the first day of the fourth watch. December the 16th is where, when you toss it, the ball, the sun actually enters the 23-degree mark, and 23.5 is the absolute height, and then it lands on the other side in the 23-degree mark. 23 and 23, how many chromosomes do we have again? It's perfectly explained. Everything is explained perfectly in a numerical fashion if we could just figure it out and put it down. Sivan 14 was the first Pentecost. In the book of Acts, it's mentioned 4 different Pentecosts. And the first one mentioned is May 29th. All right, where are we at? Oh, I started showing you that the midst of the feast, 1,260 days, brings us to Jesus' ascension, which is also the date the flood ends on November the 12th. That's the midst of the feast. Like I said, if we're getting close to what we believe the rapture day is, you're going to start seeing events just escalate. It's just going to start moving so fast that we're going to be like, oh man, this is it. When is it? When is it? You know, tomorrow is definitely the rapture. And then tomorrow we will say, tomorrow is definitely the rapture. And then soon we'll be saying the rapture is going to happen in 1 hour. And then 1 hour later, we will say the rapture is definitely going to happen in 1 hour. That's how close we're getting to this rapture right now. Monday, December the 8th, Hanukkah, day 1. If you count 1,260 days, it's May 21st, which is Sivan 6. That's the day Enoch ascended. If Enoch is representative of the bride who's taken out of the way before the tribulation begins, then Enoch ascends on this day. We ascend. And that's how, the only way I could tie Enoch to Hanukkah whatsoever. Everybody's Enoch, it's the same. And I'm like, they don't even remotely tie it. How do I tie these two together? I've been working on it for years. And then suddenly I said, well, let me try this 1,260 days, see what it does. And boom, it is actually Hanukkah and Enoch. It happens. It's perfect, absolutely perfect mathematically. Jesus goes, this is John 7. Jesus goes up in the midst of the feast. The midst is, like I showed you, December the 12th. That's when the flood ends, and that's the midst of the feast of Hanukkah. All right. Now, this particular passage is speaking to tabernacles. It is not speaking to Hanukkah. This is speaking to tabernacles, John 7, and Jesus went up in the midst of this feast. He said, you go up, I'll go up later. And he winds up going up in the midst of the feast. But by John 10, this is speaking of Hanukkah. How do we know? It took me a while to understand, but it was a feast of dedication and it was winter. Both of them are called the feast. They're synonymous. Both of them are the same. The Feast of Tabernacles and its 8 days, and the Feast of Hanukkah and its 8 days are 70 days apart. They are synonymous. But the one he's speaking of here is the one that's in winter. The one that was in September was not in winter. The one that is in winter is this one here. And it was Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication. It was winter. And remember how long it took them to, how do you call, renovate this temple. It took them from 20 BC to 26 AD, where Jesus makes the comment in 26 AD that he will tear this thing down and rebuild it in 3 days. He does that in 26 AD. That's the year he started his ministry, in 26 AD, and 26 and a half in September. And then I believe he makes this comment. Let's see, it was vis-a-vis. I believe he makes that comment. Let me see something here. Now, I don't know. I believe he makes that comment in spring, in March, 6 months later, when John the Baptist would have baptized him. No, he was baptized. Yeah, I believe he was, wasn't he? He was baptized on September the 25th. He made this comment in March. I got it backwards. He made the comment about tearing it down and rebuilding it. So I really need to build a timeline with all that stuff so I can articulate it properly. For the visions yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and will not tarry. David, the watchman, did some math, like I said, 2595, and I noticed some symmetry in it, and I said, isn't it weird that I think the evil angels or something were prepared for a year, a month, and a day, and that lands on December the 1st, and 7 days later is Hanukkah. It's too bad it didn't say a year, a month, a week, and a day, because if it did, it would have landed on Hanukkah exactly from the date that David the Watchman found. And he said, I'm going to go to bed right now and stare at the ceiling all night, based on that comment. So, because it was December the 1st when we were talking about it, I said, that's today. I don't know what's going to happen, if anything. So, anyway, look, the rapture is going to happen in an hour. And in 1 hour, we will say the rapture is going to happen in an hour. It is going to happen. And it is hidden from Satan. Therefore, it has been given unto us to be watchmen on the wall. Somebody's approaching, sound the alarm. That's the mailman. Somebody's approaching, sound the alarm. Oh, it's the old lady with her groceries. Somebody's approaching, sound the alarm. It's the guy that comes around to sell fruit. Somebody's approaching, sound the alarm. After a while, the soldiers are like, oh, it's nothing. It's definitely going to be the guy that sells, apples. It's definitely going to be that guy. And then it wasn't. Then it wasn't. Then it was the rapture. Then they were under attack. So I discovered something else. In 1406, just really quickly, just for those of you who do research, in 1406, when Joshua crossed over in the Promised Land on March 26th, it was not the Jubilee year. It was not the Jubilee year when he crossed over on Nisan 10. I know that because he blew trumpets 7 times, circling the city, and then on the 7th day, he blew them 7 times, 7 or something. He did that on September the 24th, on the Day of Atonement. That's the day he did it. He did it 10 days after the Feast of Trumpets. And he was blowing trumpets on the 10th day of Tishri, signaling in the Jubilee that would happen in 1405. The Jubilee actually happened in 1405, and it began on March 17th. in 1405, the Jubilee, because they sound trumpets in the 49th year, and that's what 1406 is. I showed that to you. I just didn't realize it until I began to read the story, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it. They were blowing trumpets as they encircled that city that they were to bring down Jericho, right? Yes, Jericho, bring down the walls of Jericho, and they blew those trumpets. And now we know the date that happened. That happened on September the 24th, on Tishri 10. They blew those trumpets, and then the walls came down, and they heralded in the Jubilee, which began 5 months and 20 days later from that first trumpet blast. So hang in there, people. The rapture is in an hour. Guaranteed. And in an hour, it'll be in an hour. Guaranteed. You stay on that wall. You jump up every time you hear someone is coming. You warn as many people as you can, because this rapture is about to occur. It will not tarry. It will happen so fast. And when we get to heaven, we're going to be like, wow, I literally thought it was going to be on the 8th. It happened now, or I literally thought it was going to be on this date or that date. And it's going to come as an absolute surprise how quickly angels aren't coming here to gather us. People keep saying that. We are going to be sitting here 1 second, and the next instant, in a fraction, absolute fraction of a second, you'll be with Jesus in the clouds above, where everyone will witness that we were taken, and they'll have two choices: kneel down and accept the Lord and become a tribulation saint, or deny and say, oh, that's aliens that took them, and be left behind again for a second time. And so as they die throughout the tribulation, these tribulation saints, the angels will come and gather their souls. And those who die without Jesus at that point, after the tribulation begins, and having seen Jesus, there's no denying that they have to see Jesus to deny him. You don't deny, if you don't believe in an ideology, and you deny an ideology, you still haven't seen Jesus. You need to be able to deny him face to face. And so that happens during the tribulation. And when they deny, the evil spirit comes and grabs them and takes them to hell, awaiting judgment, where they will appear before the white throne judgment seat, because they refused. They saw and still refused, and they will be taken to that location. It's all up to you. Where do you want to go? When do you want to go? It's all your choice, because you're offered a free cup. That's it. He wants heaven full of people that want him. He's not dragging anybody kicking and screaming to heaven. He wants a heaven filled with people that want him, that chose him. He's not going to drag you to heaven so you can mope around heaven for a bit. Man, I'd rather be in hell. Yeah, this is nice, but I didn't really choose this. That is not going to happen. Whoever thought that up, he's going to drag us kicking and screaming to heaven. No. No, he's not. You got to want to be there. And it's up to you. Salvation's not up to you. You have nothing to do with it. Amos 3:7. Oh, I'm sorry. John 6:44, right here on my screen. John 6:44. He draws everyone. He pours the Spirit out on all flesh. He's calling everyone, and it's up to you to accept it or deny it. It all depends on you. Depends on what you want. So accept it or deny it. We shall see. All right, YouTube, RepoMan64. We will chat with you again later.